Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hello. As always, I am joined by the glorious Kate Sitars, the co-host I could not do this without.
That's
Hello,
very
Kate.
kind. Hello.
The truth. And Kate and I have the pleasure of being joined by star CCA student, fantastic copywriter, and all-around amazing person, Daniel Reese. Hello, Daniel.
Hey, nice intro. I'm blushing already.
Good. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to get into all things copywriting and have a good time.
Dig in. Exactly. It's always a good time to hear about everybody's origin stories and what they're doing today, which let me use that as a segue. Daniel, what is your origin story? What's your background? What got you interested in copywriting? Where did you start?
Yeah, I think my origin story could be the duration of this whole podcast. So I'll give you the kind of the cliff notes of it. So back in 2017, I was working sort of the typical 9-to-5 sales job. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. So I was kind of somewhere in the middle. And somewhere on my lunch break, I started going to Barnes and Noble a lot. It was just right down the street from me. Picked up Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek book. That was like kind of the catalyst. There's lots of them now, but after I read the end of that book, I just remember thinking to myself, like, I can't work this job anymore. I got really obsessed with just the whole laptop lifestyle and being a digital nomad. And from there, just ended up quitting my job. 5 days after I quit my job, ended up kind of mowing a country to move to, and ended up moving to Thailand very much on a whim. And I guess the whole idea behind it was that with it being cheaper to live out there, I could get my money to stretch a little further while I knew I wasn't going to make money, and spent pretty much every waking second I had learning copywriting and consuming copywriting. And a big sort of that was being followed around by Facebook ads from a lot of people just in that circle, selling courses, selling coaching. And you know what happens when you trip over a pixel and it does its job and follows you everywhere. That's exactly what happened to me. And I remember looking at the landing page, and the landing page had addressed all of the objections that I already had. And it was like they read my mind. So I think from there it was kind of history. I just wanted to know the how and the why, and I haven't looked back since.
Oh, I love it. Yes. Thank
Nicki
you, Facebook.
stalked you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, it worked.
Facebook and I
Positive
stalked you.
stalking.
Yeah. What was it about copywriting that appealed to you as an industry? I mean, yes, there's the flexibility, and that's amazing, and flexibility you need if you're already living in Thailand. But
Right.
what was it that really called to you?
Yeah, the flexibility is great. I think around that time, when I was in Thailand, I ended up publishing a book as well. The book was, long story short, just about creativity, what creativity is, why we have it as children, and then we gradually lose it as we get older. And I think writing has always scratched that creative itch. It's always something that I've done, I guess, more recreationally. So when I learned that I could actually make a good living doing it, there was a little skepticism of how much money can I actually make being a writer. And I think after being committed to it for so long, I'm finally seeing what all the possibilities are and getting to finally live those.
That's awesome.
Because you're a recording artist too, right?
I am. So I think in any capacity, whether it's writing music or poetry or direct response copy, like I just enjoy words in general. Always did well with words in school. And so this was kind of a natural extension to that, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you find that the creativity I certainly want to get back to your full story, but I'm curious, do you find that the creativity in music feeds the creativity in copywriting or vice versa? I'm just curious how those two interplay for you.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of an ecosystem of sorts, because with music, I think of that as more of a diary where you can be a little more expressive in how you actually feel about stuff. And you can get away with saying a lot more when it sounds catchy. But I think with copywriting as well, the plus side of that is depending on what industry you're writing in, whether it's something that you're very comfortable with and just really want to make sure that it's spoken in a succinct way so people learn about that industry, or you're learning a new industry and you get to learn all these cool things that you never would have learned if you weren't writing about it. I think that it just comes together to give you a lot to talk about, and it just makes you a more interesting person when you learn stuff like that.
Absolutely. Agreed. So you found our program and you said, all right, I'm going to do this, dug into it. How did you work your way through it? I'm always curious because I know some people are like, I did it all in a weekend, or I was very methodical and I did it.
And there's no right or wrong. I feel like that's the point to, I hope people,
So I'll say that this wasn't the first program that I went through. Mm-hmm. I went through, I want to say 3 or 4 other programs.
Oh, wow.
And I think what I liked about the Filthy Rich writer community in general was just like the whole humanness behind it. I know there's a lot of like marketers and gurus out there that we've all experienced who will promise the world and the moon and the stars. And, you know, they make these things sound more appealing to people on the outside who don't know all of these scarcity tactics and all these other marketing tools. And I think for me, I always wanted to get to that level so I could finally be the force for good who's putting good things out there. As the saying goes, marketers ruin everything. And so I wanted to be the person who was not ruining things, but making things better and making things more relatable. And I think that this community does a good job of just being more real and human, especially in a very AI-dominated world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and you mentioned AI, and I'm always curious to hear from working copywriters like yourself. What are you seeing out there when it comes to AI? What are you hearing from clients? What are you seeing in? I know that there was the initial, probably like a year or 2 years now, where there was, we're all going to lose our jobs, and we've certainly evolved from there. But I'm curious what you're seeing when it comes to AI. Hey there, it's Nicki. I wanted to take a very quick minute to make sure that you knew about our free on-demand copywriting training. Now, whether you are brand new to copywriting or you've been doing it for a while, but you just can't seem to hit those income goals, this training is for you. You are going to learn the 3 secrets to landing freelance copywriting work without relying on frustrating job bidding sites like Upwork or Fiverr, or without cold calling strangers. And if you've watched any of the student success stories on this channel, and if you haven't yet, check them out. This is the exact same training that they all started with. And I mean students like Kate K, who is making 6 figures working part-time and retired her husband to help her build her business. Students like Stuart, who replaced his full-time salary, which was a good one, with his freelance income and then some. Stacy, who hit 6 figures in her first 6 months as a freelance copywriter, and Ashley, who landed the in-house copywriting job of her dreams. They all started with this free training, and you can start with this free training too. So sign up right now at freecopywritingtraining.com.
Yeah, that's an interesting starting point. We're all going to lose our jobs apocalypse, which luckily I don't see a lot of people saying that now. And I've never quite felt that personally. So I think with AI, it's such a double-edged sword in a way. And I think that at the moment, now that people realize that they won't lose their jobs, we're seeing a lot of AI slop out into the world right now. And for anyone who does get to use, ChatGPT or any other tool out there, they definitely have their use cases and they are ultimately helpful. I think it's almost like a GPS where with a GPS, it tells you where your destination is, but sometimes it might lead you off into a dirt road or off a cliff or something. And so there is still this very human side of making sure that what it's putting out there sounds human and sounds emotional, because if it doesn't, then I don't really know what the point is of what you're doing. And I would say with marketing in general, it's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole, because when you solve one problem, another problem ends up taking its place. So AI is the perfect example of that. So what does AI solve? X, Y, and Z. And now what's the problem that AI has created? I think people are already tired of seeing AI ads in commercials. And there are studies out there right now that show that people with seeing AI ads are immediately turned off from those ads. So I think those problems also create really good opportunities. And I think that's really the time to double down on just being human and not looking at AI as this job taker, but as a tool that can make your life easier and can help you spot AI. So when you're giving a value prop, if you're out pitching somewhere, really honing in on that side of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree. It's also nice that everybody's gonna lose their jobs has calmed down. There's there was that initial panic, like we were saying, maybe a year to 2 years ago. And, all of us on the call being copywriters at that time could say like, no, I see this. It's not going to take over, but
it's just going to ruin M dashes for all
of
us, which that's the conversation now. Like, all right, I can't use my M dash.
And now, I actually just had that conversation recently. Now, I have to use M dashes so much less now because people might think that it's a copy and pasted prompt or something. So RIP to the M dash.
Yeah, I know. I still love them. I still love them. It's me, guys. I'm writing it, but I love an M dash.
Yeah, I'll use it every now and again. I'll just make sure to be very cognizant of how often it gets used.
Exactly. I'm just saying, and I think in some ways it's a good. It's like, okay, maybe I was over relying on it, and now I'm being extra intentional with my M dash use. Fine,
exactly.
Fine.
Might be true. Maybe. Yeah.
So I'm curious, what was the process of finding and landing your first clients? Were you still in Thailand when that was happening? Give us that kind of chunk of time.
Yeah, so I didn't land my first client until I made it back to the US. And I want to say my first client happened from making a post on Facebook and getting into Facebook groups and finding people that way. I haven't done that in forever. I think now I'm at the point where like more referrals and things happen, which is the thing that I dreamed about from day one. And there's always that resistance in the back of your mind of like, I know I have more work than I can do. Do I really need to pitch? There's always something in the back of my mind that's like trying to find reasons not to do it. But I think it really just comes down to building a system so it doesn't feel like it's such a like laborious task. But also that resistance you feel is something that so many other people feel. So when you start making note of like where the resistance is happening, that is the best area to start building discipline and realizing that's like what takes you from one level to the next is the areas that give you friction. But without going on a side tangent, just from Facebook is where I got my first client.
Please do actually. Yeah, exactly. As you're talking about that identifying your area of resistance. Yeah. Tell us more about that and how you have discovered and how you've built out those systems for yourself.
Yeah. So I look at it as a very like bigger picture sort of approach. So for example, every single day I try to have at least like 3 non-negotiables that I'll do that day. So one is exercise. I can't go a day without exercise now. It's just built into my schedule, which is one of the pluses of having the flexible schedule. The other thing that I have to do every day is my language lesson. So I'm currently still learning a little bit of Thai. Even on a lazy day, there's still exercise, there's still language lessons, and there's still writing copy. So I think when you can make promises to yourself and make sure that your word still means something when you are making those promises to yourself, I think that those translate in every other area of your life, including copywriting and including pitching.
How did you discover that for yourself? Or is that just something that you've always known to do it?
I would say the long story short is like growing up, I did play a lot of sports. So that was something that was instilled in me. And I think probably the clear moment in 8th grade was when I first started playing football. So I played football for a few years. There was one day during practice, my coach just came up to me and said, I'm going to make you a running back. And I had no idea what that was at the time. I just said, okay. And he told me that being a running back was a integral part to the team. So I had to be a leader. And this was around a time that I was still very shy, couldn't talk on camera and all the things that I get to enjoy today. And after he basically instilled me as being a leader, whether I wanted to or not, a lot of that came with sitting at the front of every class, always raising my hand when the teacher wanted to volunteer. Like he told me that I had to be one of the first people to like volunteer. And so he saw me as this sort of reluctant leader that dragged me through the mud, so to speak. And I think just towards the end of that, it starts to make sense when you see those areas playing out in different parts of life. So I think that discipline in general is just something that not a lot of people have taken the time to build up, because a lot of people will rely on motivation for stuff. And motivation is really only good when you feel like doing something. And especially in the beginning, when you're not making money and you're hearing no a lot of times, you have to have this thing in the back of your mind that says, okay, we've heard no a bunch of times, but the only thing that's going to be left is eventually somebody has to say yes. Like you can't plant 100 seeds and not expect to grow a flower at some point.
I love that.
So true.
Yeah. And I agree. I think that there is, and I'm not quite sure, it's certainly not my place to guess why it is, but I do think that there is the reluctance, just in general, the reluctance to dig into things that we identify as challenging or as hard. I think for a lot of people, the initial experience of, oh, that's hard, that means that I shouldn't do it. Or, oh, that's uncomfortable, and that means that I shouldn't do it. When those of us who have worked through the hard things or uncomfortable, and certainly not all of them by any means, have learned that it is those uncomfortable things, it is those hard things that we need to lean into, that make us better people, that make us more successful. And that's almost everyone I know who is successful, and it sounds like present company included, can trace back to, okay, I did that difficult thing. And did you feel like sitting in the front of class? No, you didn't feel like sitting. Did
Absolutely
you feel like raising your hand?
And,
exactly.
Yeah. And who wants to work out 7 days a week?
Yeah,
I don't want to work out almost every morning, but there are ways that I've found to trick myself into doing those. So like, for example, if I'm on my phone just scrolling, why can't I walk while I'm doing that?
Yeah.
If I'm on the phone with somebody, why can't I walk while I'm doing that? I'm listening to a podcast. I've taken many a walk listening to this podcast before in the past.
We are honored to join you on those walks.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
And I think so much of this really just comes down to intention. I think intention is kind of the word to sum it all up, because I think the more intentional you are about experiencing people or areas of life who are different from you, or just life in general, I think the more emotion and humanness you can put in your writing, because information without emotion is not going to be retained.
Exactly. It doesn't cause people to take action. It doesn't connect with them. It doesn't move them. Yeah. I agree.
Exactly. And I would say for anyone who doesn't know where to start, like writing wise, think about the things that you could rant about or the things that make you angry. So even if you don't have a client right away, you can be writing about this stuff. Maybe you're making a short blog or just a short post. Like these days, I use Facebook as kind of my training ground. When I make posts, it's always written in a copywriter format. And I think people who are familiar with my style of writing always see it as like, okay, I can tell he does copywriting because everything is written like a copywriter.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So now you went through a program, you dug in, you did the work, you started landing clients. What does your life look like today? I think the first question is probably, where are you right now? You're learning Thai. Where are you?
So I know this blank background tells you nothing
Could be
about
anywhere.
where I am, but right now I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's where I was born and raised.
Oh, nice. Are you visiting family or just hanging out there for a while?
Yeah, I still live here. So I still do quite a bit of traveling and do, I wouldn't say I'm more of a digital nomad anymore, maybe like a digital slow mad.
Ooh, I like that.
I'll go places and I'll stay there for long periods of time, and then I'll come back to the States for a while. So I'm actually going to Mexico in a couple of weeks. So I'm preparing for that as well. But yeah, Tulsa, Oklahoma is where you will see me most of the time.
Oh, that's nice. I like that digital slow mad. You should, as soon as we get off this call, go trademark that, grab that.
I might be
grab
too
that
late.
URL. Yeah.
AI's listening. But I like that concept too of the I think everyone who was around when the 4-hour work week came out, it was like, okay, you're going to just go and do anything. This is what your life is going to be. And I think that it can be fun and to be moving around constantly. And we certainly know that there are CCA students that are doing that as we speak. But there is that, if one has the flexibility, to be able to go in and, like you said, settle into a place for a little while, stay there for a couple of months, get a feel for it without having to go from each new place, and the flexibility our careers and our lives can change as we change and as we want can change as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the longer that you go with having a flexible schedule and having freedom to just do whatever you want to do, the more you realize that it's not really that radical of an idea to have free time and just live life. I think we're just very conditioned and used to being taught at a young age, especially as millennials, to go to school, go to college, rack up a bunch of debt, work the same job for 40 years. And then after you've done all this stuff, then you can retire, then you can maybe have fun if you have the energy. And I just think that a lot of the playbook that our parents have taught us don't necessarily apply to us anymore.
Yeah.
Like even when my dad saw me leave the country, start working from my laptop, this stuff didn't exist in his mind way back when he was our age because it just wasn't accessible. But I think now that we have the know-how and the tech to make this happen, and even going back to the 4-Hour Workweek, before that book was published, I want to say he got turned down by like 8 different publishers.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that says for somebody who is out writing, who thinks that somebody might not like their work or like what they're doing, some of the best stuff in the world took a lot of times to get appreciated by people before it was actually put into the wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's just always good to keep in mind whenever we look at people, we think, oh my gosh, they're successful. It was easy for them. And
like it was a light switch.
Yeah. The backstory. Exactly. The overnight success. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone has kind of their coming of age story. It's not like you woke up one day, found a bunch of clients, started making 6 figures a month or a year. There's always this process of like, when is it going to be my turn? Am I actually good for this?
Mm-hmm.
You may even have a little bit of imposter syndrome in the middle of that. Or in my case, before I was a copywriter, I actually was doing full-scale marketing. So I was running all the ads on Facebook and Instagram and doing the whole thing from top to bottom before I just niched down into copywriting and decided that was a little better and a little more freeing.
Yeah, it's a lot to do. Yeah.
I'm curious too, you mentioned, I think parents and the other generations of folks in their work life, when you decided to quit your job, go to Thailand, start learning copywriting, did you have reactions from friends and family about that?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, tell us.
I'm actually super, super lucky. If my parents hear this, thank you for not ever thinking I'm crazy. So when I first made this decision, and this is a very consistent trend in my life where I will announce something and it sounds a little too grandiose for certain people. And then I start hearing the why this won't work, or start hearing these limitations that they may have that are given to me. And I think that is another bit of motivation that made me feel like I had to make this work. Because I would say that if you ever have any feelings of spite, for example, there is no energy that is more motivating, that will get you out of bed more than, oh yeah, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I had to ruminate with every day when I wasn't making money at the time. It was just like, what am I willing to do today to get closer to what I said I was going to do and when I quit my job? Because let's be honest, I'm not going back to a regular job now. And if I can continue to pitch, continue to make things work, then that was what I had in the back of my mind at the time.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. What, you don't think I can do it? Watch me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how tired you are, how unmotivated you are, that will light a fire inside of you when somebody says, oh yeah, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Want to bet?
Yeah. No matter what level of success you have, it works every time. So don't waste that energy if you have it.
Love it. I'm curious if you can share to what extent you feel comfortable, just like what kinds of projects you're working on, what kinds of industries you're working with, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So I would say right now, and I mentioned in the group about 3 years ago that I finally found a dream client, which I still work with today, media company startup. And right now we do a lot of writing in B2B. I've done B2C, but B2B has been kind of a big focus right now. So I've written a lot about marketing and mindset, sales. I'm learning about HR right now, which I never thought I would be writing about, but really just seeing the humanness of what I can bring to those brands and how I can be a force for good in, topics that otherwise may seem unsexy at the time. I find that not a lot of people are excited to talk about topics like maybe HR or fintech, but I think that when you have the skill set to make those sound interesting, like that's very exciting to me. But yeah, I'm mostly still writing about other marketing stuff, sales, leadership, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Fun. And you certainly share to whatever degree you're comfortable, but you think you're working 25, 30 hours a week on average, and you're making an excellent income, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I average about 25 to 30 hours, and income wise, it's pretty fluctuating right now, but I would say I'm still over the 6-figure mark, which is still great between that income and the hours that are worked. It's a perfect kind of medium. And I think once you reach a certain goal, like there's always this, I want to make 100,000 a year, I want to make $1 million. And I think going through that process, you realize that once your hierarchy of needs are met, at some point, like making another 100,000 or 200,000 doesn't feel as, I don't know if exciting is the word that I'm looking for, but I guess it doesn't feel as meaningful after you've crossed a certain threshold. So then you get to reevaluate, do I want to work another 20 or 30 hours to make another 100K? Or do I want to use this free time to pursue other hobbies or passions, or just enjoy my freedom for the time being?
I think that's so wise. Yeah.
I've been starting to think about anything beyond 30 hours, I feel like is a higher cost to me in terms of my value on my time becomes just, there's a level where it's like, no, if I'm going to add more, it's going to be a lot more.
Yeah. And there's some diminishing returns there. Like I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of faces in the industry, and I've seen a lot of people go from making 0 to making 7 or 8 figures. And it seems like so many people who are working 100 hours a week, yes, they're making $40 million a year, but they seem miserable all the time. And at some point, you have to figure out where the trade-off is. Like, yeah, that sounds nice to have that kind of salary a year, but what good is that salary if you're not even happy when you're doing it?
Right. Or you don't have the time to do anything with it.
Exactly. And I think a lot of times people who have not reached this point yet think that it's going to solve all their problems and that everything's just going to be rosy colored sunglasses from here on out. But the reality is it's a lot more fun, like building the copywriting career than it is when you actually start making the income, which may sound a little wild to some people. But I think what happens is you ride that high for a week. Like when I got my dream client, I was through the roof for a week. And then my brain was like, okay, what's next?
You acclimate.
You do. It just becomes normal after that. And so once that's your baseline, you have to find this other Mount Everest, which doesn't necessarily have to be making more money or getting more clients, but there has to be something that is challenging enough that you have to learn or be something a little more than you were yesterday to achieve that.
Yeah, I think money it's an easy marker, right? It's an easy benchmark. Okay, well, this amount of money. And because I think almost because it's easy, or I should say not easy necessarily to make, but an easy marker, I think people default to it. When it comes to quality of living, it may not be the marker that should be most closely tracked. Yes, we all need to be aware of our income, and I'm certainly not going to say that I'm not going to judge anybody's desire to make whatever. But to your point, you can keep heaping on money on top of that, and that's great. Yay for money. But at the same time, there are other markers that might be a little bit harder to quantify that lead to a better quality of life? How was this hour that I spent with my friend like, did we really dig in? Was it a good hour? Or was this an hour that I spent, I don't know, on myself eating Cheetos? Or was this an hour with my friend? Or was this an hour when I was with my friend, but I couldn't focus on it because I was thinking about a client and a deadline and all that kind of thing?
Exactly. And that's a really good point, because have either of you been on a trip somewhere, whether you're on vacation or just traveling in general, and everyone's having fun and doing stuff, but you're in the corner with your laptop because you have to finish this last piece of copy that's due in 2 hours. And so you don't get to fully be present in those moments where those things happen. But I also understand at the same time, before I made a single dollar from copywriting, all I could think about was money in those moments.
Yes.
So it's just interesting in the way that when you don't have enough of it, it's all you think about. And when you do have enough of it, you don't really think about it at all. So if you get to the luxury of not having to think about it, then you get to start utilizing the creativity and all the things that I mentioned earlier. And those are usually the things that tend to kind of feed the soul, so to speak.
Yeah. You've given us so much great stuff in this interview. I'm loving this. I'm wondering, and maybe it's almost too big of a question to ask, but if you could think of one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is, it feels it's hard to distill it down to one piece, but who is either considering getting into copywriting, or maybe they're just getting started, what would you advise them? Or what, I feel like tips is kind of high level, but what would you tell them if they're saying, Daniel, what should I do?
I'm planting 100 seeds and I'm seeing nothing. Don't lie to me.
Yeah. So really important question, and a question that I love to answer for new people who don't feel like it's possible to make any money at all, let alone make money that they can be happy with making every month or every year. So I will start by saying that copywriting in general, there are lots of people out there who have written one article or one blog and call themselves a copywriter, the same way that somebody might buy a simple camera and immediately call themselves a photographer. So I would say, if you're still in the beginning phases, as you're on social media, find out what writing stops you from scrolling just organically in the wild, and continue to dissect what makes that interesting to you, because being boring is the quickest way to be ignored if you're in writing. And it is a bit of a slow burn if you want to be great. And this isn't something that is like a get rich quick opportunity. It's a high income skill. And success, however you define it, is achievable if you collect the right field tested beliefs and habits, which you can find plenty of on this podcast and in the community. But somebody else has done your version of success before. So there is shared DNA you can borrow, and that's probably the best place to start.
So good. So good. So good. Okay. Now, if someone is listening and maybe they're not a copywriter, they're listening because they're like, actually, I need a copywriter. They've stumbled upon this. How can people find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on LinkedIn under Daniel Reese, or under Instagram, Daniel J. Reese. I don't post nearly as much as I probably should. I think I've enjoyed not being chronically online these days, but I do check all my messages and happy to chat if you have any questions or want to talk about travel or anything else. I'm around.
Excellent. We'll post all of that below. Yes. But Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. This is fantastic. And quite frankly, I can't wait to interview you again and see what more value you could give to our audience.
Yeah, let's interview you again. So this isn't a 4-hour podcast episode.
Do you have a sneak peek at like you're in a great place, so I don't want to but do you have any thoughts of like what's coming? Or are you just going to enjoy to the more point? Enjoying.
I've been in the enjoying phase for a few months. So right now I'm looking to scale a little bit more. That may just be taking on literally one other client. Sure. So I am in the process of doing that, but I'm not in any hurry. I'm enjoying it as it happens.
Love it.
And I think that's really important when it comes to the pitching side of things, because when you don't feel like you need something, it comes off as such in your pitch.
100%.
So that goes a long way.
Same thing as applying to new jobs, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
have a job and you're applying to other, it's a much better position to be in than I need a job.
Exactly. Like, please, I'll write anything.
Right.
$5 an hour. Just let me write your article.
Amazing. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for being with us today. And we absolutely appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to be on anytime.
Thank you. And with that, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Like what you heard? Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're ready to take the first step toward becoming a copywriter yourself, sign up for a free video training right here.